Tennessee Titans fans, it is that time of the week where we hop on Reddit and see what Titans fans are saying about the state of the organization. We've got the Two-Tone Talk Reddit page. There's a link to that in the video description below. Wish you would go join that community. Post your questions, comments, memes, whatever, and they will get featured on this segment every week. We've got quite a few posts from that page today, and we're also going to check out a couple of posts from the Tennessee Titans Reddit page, just seeing what fans are saying. These are posts that I found particularly interesting, wanted to give my thoughts on. Let's start on the Two-Tone Talk page, where this user says, Gruden? Imagine a season where the Titans underperform and Cam shows flashes but struggles. In typical Titans fashion, they fire Brian Callahan and company, all while a certain former head coach has repented and reverted his public image back to good. Would you like Jon Gruden as the Titans' next head coach in this crazy hypothetical, or would you pass for someone else? We're talking about a former Super Bowl winning head coach that has tons of expertise and has laid the winning foundations for a few franchises. I think he and Cam would be a match made in heaven, and for how psycho they both are for football. His offensive systems have always evolved with the times, and I truly think he is a quarterback whisperer. Despite the controversy, he is still well respected around the NFL and is a true player's coach. In all honesty, I want Brian Callahan to do well, of course, and unlock Cam, and we truly see the new foundations of culture built this year. But if he doesn't, this would be a fun pivot for the Titans. Just a fun thing for me and my dad were talking about not too long ago. Typical boring offseason hypotheticals. Keep up the good work. Love the content. I appreciate the kind words there at the end. I mean, I appreciate the self-awareness to know that this is just boring off-season hypotheticals to try to get us through to the actual season, because this is a pretty boring time of year if you are a football fan. In this hypothetical of Brian Callahan doing so badly in year 2 that he's fired and they have to find a new head coach next offseason, I mean, I'm not going to lie. If it turned out that the Tennessee Titans hired Jon Gruden as their new head coach, I'm not going to pretend that I wouldn't be excited about such a thing. Now, the best case scenario, like you said, is that Brian Callahan's a great coach. He does a great job in year 2, and we don't even have to cross that bridge. Can you imagine a Tennessee Titans offseason where they don't fire somebody and everybody just stays? That's a novel concept, especially with Cam Ward being a rookie. I don't want him learning a new offense going into year 2. So the best case scenario is that Brian Callahan does a good job and stays. But in this crazy hypothetical, yeah, if they hired Jon Gruden, that would be very exciting. He is, got a great history as a head coach, and for all the reasons this person said, I just would much rather Brian Callahan do a good job, personally. This person says, is it the end of hopes and dreams in Indianapolis? For those who haven't seen it yet, apparently Anthony Richardson is hurt already. So I think it's safe to say there was only one good quarterback in that draft. What are your thoughts? Well, let's hold our horses on saying there was only one good quarterback, because I still think the verdict's out on Bryce Young. I still think Bryce Young could turn into a good quarterback. In the case of Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis, I do think he will be the starter for them week 1. Now, he is already dealing with injuries, and that is very concerning if you are a Colts fan, because he's already dealt with injuries. He's been dealing with injuries pretty much his entire football career. And so I do think he'll be the starter week 1, but is there any doubt that he's going to get hurt at some point? Like, of course he's going to get hurt at some point. But here's the thing, folks. Don't get it twisted. Do not let the narrative become, oh man, if Anthony Richardson can just stay healthy. No, he doesn't. He hasn't particularly played well when he's healthy. That's where hopes and dreams come from. All of these people that just pretend as though he's proven something. Just like they did last offseason, going into last season. Well, Anthony Richardson, he's going to do great for Indianapolis. Based on what? That's where hopes and dreams came from. Now, it's better now because most of the national media realized how stupid they sounded, and they've moved on to Shador. But yeah, the injuries are a big part of it. But this is a top 5 draft pick. And even when he's not hurt, I mean, he's kind of the quarterback equivalent of Treylon Burks. He's hurt most of the time, but even when he's not hurt, it's not like he plays well. It's not like he contributes. you're talking about like if it doesn't turn around drastically this season and he's off to a bad start with already being hurt, like they might like trade him or cut him. Good Lord, Daniel Jones time potentially there in Indianapolis. This user said, hear me out. This might not make sense, so I apologize. If more clarification is needed, I will make an updated post. But what if Cam Ward hits and becomes our franchise QB? And if so, we as fans embrace his signature hand motion on game day. Imagine being an opposing quarterback in a primetime game in Nissan Stadium, sold out crowd, and the whole crowd is screaming while doing Cam's signature hand motion. I don't know about y'all, but that sounds so intimidating. Thanks for reading. Much love to Brad and all that see this. Well, much love to you too. First of all, the fact that you would ever think that Nissan Stadium would be sold out with Titans fans, that's a bold assumption right there. Because we got a long way to go before Nissan Stadium is sold out with majority of it being Titans fans. But I don't know if that would be intimidating. Like if you're Patrick Mahomes, a minute 40 on the clock, down by 4, you've got to lead your team down, and the whole crowd is sitting here doing this. I don't know if that would be intimidating or not. I really don't know. It would be fun for the fans, but I don't know if that would be, like, I just feel like noise would be more intimidating than just everybody doing this in the crowd. I don't know. Maybe if enough people do it, it would throw somebody off of their game. But I don't know. I don't know if that would actually be an intimidating thing or not. This user with a picture of Bill Cowher says dream head coach, and then down here they said my dream head coach for the Titans is Bill Cowher. What are y'all's? First of all, when I think of Bill Cowher, I think of the Titans Steelers playoff game where Joe Nedney, Music City Mulligan, running into the kicker. Bill Cowher was so mad after that game. Like he chased down the refs and was yelling at them. That was a great, great night. High drama. I don't know if I can pinpoint like a certain coach that's like, that's my dream coach. I don't know. Like, yeah, you've got your legendary guys like first of all, I think Bill Cowher's probably I don't think he's looking to get back into coaching. I think he's perfectly happy on CBS, but you have your legendary coaches like Cowher, Gruden, Pete Carroll. Like you have those legendary older guys, and that's great. Some of those guys I just worry about because they're very Vrabel-esque in like their approach, very old school, and you always worry about would that hold up. But then you've got every year there's that new shiny toy, Ben Johnson. The last couple of years, a lot of people like last season, I would have probably said Ben Johnson was my dream hire for the Titans because he was the top candidate. But like, I just don't know if I can pinpoint any one coach and be like, that's my dream coach. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I have anybody like that. I just want a coach that'll win a Super Bowl. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's freaking Tim McGraw or Jelly Roll or somebody. Like, I don't even care. Like, if Peyton Manning wants to come coach Tennessee Titans, I don't care. Like, just let him take us to a Super Bowl. I don't care. I don't care if it's a guy that lives next door. I'm not going to read this whole post, but this person really they said, do we really believe in the coaching staff? And then they laid out some of their concerns about Brian Callahan, talked about he still, in this middle paragraph, he still hasn't showcased the ability to call plays or develop any talent in the slightest. He and Bill Callahan were supposed to rejuvenate the O-line, but it was still awful, which is not entirely their fault because NPF and Radins are unfixable. I'm not going to say Radins is unfixable. I thought Radins was okay. Just, I think Kevin Zeitler's probably better, the guy they brought in to replace him. Also, yes, NPF, I mean, I actually thought as a whole, the offensive line got better, which is not saying much because they still weren't good, but they were better than they were at the start. It's just when you have one bad apple, that right tackle position, I mean, NPF, there is no fixing that. He was with the 49ers for like a day before they released him last week. And outside of him, like they didn't even have a serviceable right tackle on the roster. So you get to a point where there's only so much you can blame on coaching. But after that, he talked about showcasing the ability to properly leading the team and get a hold of the locker room. The only player I ever recall buying in was Jeff, while many others were completely out on the year, like Ridley. I don't know if I buy that. I'm not saying that Callahan can't do it. It's just that he never has, and I'm not so sure he will, even if the quarterback of the future is on our squad. So I have my concerns about Brian Callahan. I do think he left a lot to be desired last season. I think certain scenarios in the game where he made bad decisions at times. I don't think he's as much to blame as the quarterbacks last year. I don't think he was as much to blame as the offensive line, particularly the right tackle. I don't think he was as much to blame as just I don't know how to word it. Like, there was no leadership, but there was no leadership in the locker room. I think it's clear with the moves the Titans have made this offseason that they're trying to bring in high character guys in free agency and the draft because they need leadership in the locker room. I did a video about it last week. When the Titans were good from 2019 to 2021, they had leadership in the locker room. Kevin Byard, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Jarrell Casey, Delaney Walker, Taylor Lewan, the list goes on and on. They had leaders in the locker room. And those are the teams that are always the best, or the teams that have leadership in the locker room. The Titans didn't have that last year. Calvin Ridley, I don't think Calvin Ridley was phoning it in at all. I don't think Calvin Ridley wasn't playing. I mean, the fact that Calvin Ridley had over 1,000 yards receiving last year was probably one of his most impressive accomplishments when you consider the situation he was in. Tony Pollard played hard. I do think that it's not a matter of guys buying in. I just think it was a weird dynamic. I think Brian Callahan was really dealing with some growing pains. So the real question for year two for him, like a player that comes into the league as a rookie, can you figure it out? There's going to be issues. There's going to be times where it doesn't look good and you make bad decisions. Can you figure it out? And as Titans fans, we better hope he does, because I don't want Cam Ward having to learn a new system going into year two, his second year in the league. So I do think Brian Callahan appears to be getting a grasp on things. I think we're seeing the organization as a whole figure out some of the changes they need to make. And so I'm not going to say that I'm full on in belief of Brian Callahan, but I'm going in with optimism about him. I think there was a lot that he messed up on in year one, but I'm going to give him a chance to make it right in year two, and I think he can. He's obviously a Callahan. He knows a lot about ball. And then there's this. Not the cover we were all hoping for. The Will Levis meme cover of Madden 26. I mean, listen, folks. Yes, there were a lot of Will Levis memes, but I do want to take it easy on Will. He's gotten a lot of flack because of the memes, because of the dances, because of the poses, because of the turnovers and everything. I hope he lands on his feet in some way, shape, or form, whether that's getting traded somewhere or being a backup, a serviceable backup for years to come, or if he gets a shot somewhere else and does okay. Like, I don't think things went terribly with Will Levis because he didn't want it. I don't think things went terribly for Will Levis because he didn't put the work in. That's one of the saddest parts of life, and one of the things that, isn't fun to think about, but sometimes you put in the work and you want it and you work with all your might and it still doesn't work out. That doesn't just go for football players. That goes for like an office job or a job that you have that's a 9 to 5. Sometimes you work your butt off and you still don't get rewarded. Sometimes you work your butt off and you still come up short. It's just life. Finally, the last post. Considering we're 2 to 3 seasons away from making a real push, who would you consider putting on the trading block? My top 3 are Tony Pollard, Jeff Simmons, and L'Jarius Sneed. I think it'd be better for us long-term to keep adding picks and letting some younger guys get some shine. What do you think? I mean, for right now, you don't trade anybody. You don't trade anybody right now. I think you need to get into the season and see what you've got. Because I think Washington proved last year, hey, if your quarterback you drafted comes in and he's doing well, anything could happen. Like, I don't think Washington planned on going to the NFC title game last year, but because Jaden Daniels is a freak, they did. And CJ Stroud the year before that in Houston. So I think you don't trade anybody right now. You get into the season and you see how it's looking. If you get into the season and it's similar to last season and it's just you're clearly not going to be competitive this year, then I think Jeffrey Simmons would be a name that I would throw out as a potential trade candidate. Tony Pollard, maybe, if he's playing well. L'Jarius Sneed, I don't think anybody's going to take on his contract, so I don't think that's going to happen. Traylon Burks, I think that ship has sailed. I don't think anybody's trading for him. There's really nobody else. I mean, the team's a lot younger. I mean, Calvin Ridley, nobody's taken on his contract, so I don't think you're trading him. So there's really not many trade candidates there. Amani Hooker, maybe? I don't know what the contract situation is with him, but yeah, you don't trade anybody right now, though. You go in with as good of a roster as you can to 2025 just to see what you have, just to see how you start the year. Obviously, the trade deadline is about 2 months into the season, and by that point, you kind of know where you stand in the grand scheme of things, and so maybe we'll know more by then, hopefully. But for right now, you don't trade anybody. Unless somebody offered you something for Traylon or for Will Levis, then those guys, yes. But in terms of starters who can genuinely help this team, you don't trade anybody right now. Let me know what you think about these topics, everybody. Tighten up. Bye.